Hello friends, welcome to Kumar IS. So I hope that your preparation is going on full swing. We were studying about Karl Marx and we completed the mature thoughts of Karl Marx, his political ideology, his concept of historical materialism. Then we studied, how Karl Marx was, wanted to emancipate the worker class at any cost. He supported the bloodshed. He said that there is no birth without blood. So he supported the violent revolution. And Karl Marx, all the ideas, like we studied it in the previous lectures. If you have some doubt, please do ask in the comment box. Today we are going to study the thoughts of young Marx, which is the foundational concept for the neo-Marxist, and which is also argued that these were the original ideas of Marx, and Lenin and Mao, all these followers of Marxism, they just took out of the context the theories of Marx and they projected Marx in a very different light. So that debate always goes on, and whatever are the prevailing situation, a scholar comes, gives a sort of theory, and all these theories are completely imperfect theories. We should not take them too seriously. Sometimes we just get into them कि मार्क्स ने ऐसा क्यों बोला, ये तो सही नहीं है ना, ये तो गलत नहीं है ना. Actually, these we should never be emotional with any scholar. That particular scholar has sort of selfish motive to achieve its own goal. That's it. So Marx's goal was to emancipate the worker class from the bourgeois. So just take it in that context, that what were the prevailing situation around Karl Marx, what were his goal, and that's what I mean. Whatever his goals were, he just built his theory upon that. Now Marx calls his theory as scientific socialism. Actually, it's not scientific. It is just the mental speculation of Karl Marx. He gives his theory as per his own understanding and as per his own self-interest, and that's what every scholar of political science does. So we should not take them too seriously. We should just study them, because we have to study to crack this exam. That's it. So today we are going to study ideas of young Marx. Let's see. आज की कथा को शुरू करते हैं. So young Marx says that actually he gives this theory of alienation in the book of Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts in 1844. So this is the book of Karl Marx, and neo-Marxist says that this is the basic concept of Karl Marx because it explains the crucial point. The crucial point of Marx is to free man from alienation. So the neo-Marxists, they argue that freedom from alienation is the main and core concept of Karl Marx, and that's around this concept only he builds the another theory: historical materialism, dialectical materialism, then class and class struggle, and so on. So that's why they say that this is the main theory, and Karl Marx says that he says that actually he's influenced by a scholar called Feuerbach. His theory of alienation, it comes from the scholar Feuerbach. How he is influenced from him, let us see. So this scholar says that Feuerbach says that God is the source of alienation. This is the theory of Feuerbach. Why God is the source of alienation of the man? Because man feels bad when he looks at God. He sees that God is so great, I cannot be so great. So he develops inferiority complex. Feuerbach says that a man develops inferiority complex. What? Inferiority complex. Why? Because he thinks that I cannot be as great as God, and God is so great. So that's why God is reason for all the suffering of the man, because man becomes very unhappy when he sees God, and that's why everybody is unhappy. That was his foolish concept, and that was his childish argument. But that's what it is. We have to study him. There is no other option. This kind of arguments are given by the scholars just to set their own agenda. because the capitalist class, they were very close to church. The capitalist class, they were very close to church, and their main argument was to defeat the capitalist. That's it. If capitalists would have been atheist, they would have favored God. That's it. I mean, they neither love or hate God. They just hate capitalists. That's it. Now, capitalists, whatever they like, Marx will hate. Marxists will hate capitalists, whatever they like. If capitalists like orange, they will like apple. That's it. So that's what it is. Feuerbach says that God is the source of alienation because man feels bad when he looks at God, and he becomes full with inferiority complex. Now, this idea suits Karl Marx very well because the capitalist class were close to church, and Marx wanted some kind of theory which can reject church and God. So Feuerbach's this concept suits very well to Karl Marx, and Karl Marx takes that thing. Marx says that alienation of man can end only when we reject the religion and the system of capitalism ends. So these statements of Karl Marx justifies whatever I already said. He says that alienation can end when the religion is rejected and capitalism ends. He says that Marx says that purpose of life is happiness, and happiness is in freedom, and capitalism does not allow man to live according to his own need, according to his true nature. Why? Because man is by nature creative and social, and capitalism exploits the man, and that's why he cannot enjoy, he cannot be free, because capitalism makes the man slave. Capitalism makes the man slave. So if the man is slave, he has no freedom, and if he has no freedom, then he cannot enjoy. Marx says that alienation is created at 4 levels. What are those 4 levels? Let us see. First level is process of production. He says that this production process of capitalism itself is quite exploitative. Why? Because a man becomes a cog in the wheel, just as a small part in a big machine. So he is just a part, and he does not really know that where the product of labor is going. He is just compelled to produce as market wants. Marx says that man, he loses complete creativity and everything. He just becomes slave in the hands of capitalist class, the industrialist class. Why? Because he will produce whatever they want, and whatever is the demand of market is. Whatever he like does not matter. The third thing is alienation from society. Why alienation from society? Because the capitalism gives no time for social life. There is no time left for the worker for social life. He is completely sucked. His complete energy is finished by the capitalist class. That's why he is alienated from the society. And the final thing is, culmination of all the 3 is self-alienation. He just loses himself. Marx says he loses himself. He no more identifies, he actually loses his true identity. He says, loses the true identity. Why? Because he loses his friends, he loses his family, he loses his society. Then nothing with whom the man has the greatest identification, he loses all of them. So that's why he loses the self in the process. That's what the argument of Karl Marx is. Thus capitalism dehumanize, commodify, and objectify labor. These are keywords, you should remember them, and you can use them in answer writing. They are quite important for every scholar. So Marx says capitalism dehumanize, commodify, and objectify labor. Dehumanize, objectify, and commodify the labor, and interaction of it is no more interaction of the persons. He says that it is just compels men to interact not as human beings but as buyers and sellers. All the relations, we also studied his concept of class and class struggle. The class and class struggle. So the same thing, he says that it's just everything is buyer and seller, and man becomes completely inhuman, and Actually, it leads to alienation of both capitalist and worker. Why? Because ultimately capitalist also loses everything. Why? Because if capitalists have friends, they cannot exploit. If capitalist makes friends with the other parts of society, they cannot exploit them, because you cannot exploit the friend. So in the process, capitalist also loses, and the workers also loses, everybody loses, and the society becomes completely alienated. That's what the concept of Karl Marx is. So he says that we want freedom, we want to end the alienation of the man, and he gives the concept that the Marx concept of freedom is freedom from necessity. He says that because capitalist and capitalism has created artificial necessities. How they have created artificial necessity? Because there is demand and there is artificial production. The demand is created by capitalist class. Demand is created, then products are produced, and that's why artificial necessity is created, and the man cannot be truly in the state of happiness. Only in communism the state of true freedom and real happiness is possible. I yesterday explained the state of communism, what is communism, what is socialism. Still, if you do not understand, please do ask in the comment box, I will personally answer them. So he says that freedom from necessity is the only way by which man can pursue what he really wants. He says production should be for not for greed but for need. Actually, it is very near to concept of Gandhi's need and greed concept. Gandhi also gives the concept of greed and need. In fact, Gandhi uses a shloka from Ishopanishad. He says that shloka says that isavasham idam sarvam tena tyaktena bhunjita. Ishavasam idam sarvam and tena taktena bhunjita. It basically means that you should utilize whatever is allotted to you by God. You should not be greedy, because everything belongs to God. Everything is property of God. So you should utilize only your quota. You should take that and you should be satisfied. You should not encroach upon others' property. This was one of the favorite shloka of Mahatma Gandhi. And he gives his concept of greed and need from this shloka. Ishavasham idam sarvam. But Marx, sort of it seems that it is similar to that, but the ways of Gandhi and Marx are quite different. Ways are very, very different. Gandhi achieves this mean through spirituality, and Marx achieved his mean through killing God. He just artificially tried to kill God and religion, everything. So that is basic difference between Gandhi and Marx, although it may look little similar. So that completes our all the theories, everything about Karl Marx. And if you have any doubt related to Karl Marx or the previous scholars, please do ask in the comment box. I will answer them. And I hope that you are enjoying our lecture. So thank you for coming into S. Kumar's IAS. And if you find them useful, please like the videos, please subscribe the channel, and please spread them like a wildfire. Thank you so much. Stay connected and work hard.